There's a version of you that nobody has met yet. Not your family, not your closest friends, not even you. This version does not announce itself. It does not post about its progress. It does not wait for applause or permission. It simply works in silence, in the dark, while the rest of the world sleeps. Most people are chasing recognition. They want to be seen, to be validated, to be told they are enough. But the ones who actually transform, the ones who become something rare and powerful, they are doing something completely different. They are not performing. They are building, quietly, deliberately, dangerously. And here is what nobody tells you about that process. The first step has nothing to do with motivation. So what does it actually begin with? You are not here by accident. People who find this kind of content are not average. They are the ones who lie awake at night, feeling like something inside them has not been fully activated yet. They sense a gap between who they are right now and who they are supposed to become. You feel it too, do you not? That quiet dissatisfaction that sits behind your eyes, even on your best days. That feeling that you are capable of more, but something keeps pulling you back. Here is what most people never discover. That feeling is not a weakness. It is a signal. It is your deeper self knocking from the inside. And the ones who learn to answer that knock, the ones who stop numbing it with distraction and start channeling it into discipline, they begin to change in ways that make people around them genuinely uncomfortable. You might already be one of those people without fully realizing it yet. Most never find this out. But here is what the Stoics knew centuries ago that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius was not born powerful. He was born into privilege, yes, but power, real inner power. He built it through years of private discipline, private reflection, and private war against his own weakness. Every morning, before the empire demanded his attention, he sat in silence and wrote to himself. Not for the world, not for historians, for himself alone. He wrote about his failures, his impulses, his temptations. He wrote about the man he did not want to become. And through that writing, he slowly carved away everything false until what remained was something unbreakable. What was he actually building in those quiet hours that no one saw? Seneca, the Roman philosopher who advised emperors and endured exile, said something that cuts through centuries like a blade. Most men do not live, they merely exist. They pass through days without intention, reacting to the world instead of shaping it. He spent years in forced silence during his exile, and instead of breaking him, that silence became his laboratory. He emerged from it sharper, calmer, and more dangerous in thought than before. Epictetus went further. He was born a slave. He had nothing, no wealth, no status, no freedom of movement. But he understood one thing with absolute clarity. The only domain a man ever truly owns is the space between stimulus and response. That space, that pause, that is where character is built. That is where transformation lives. Can you feel how radical that idea actually is, even today? The Stoics were not passive men sitting in ivory towers. They were warriors of the interior. They trained the mind the same way a soldier trains the body, with repetition, resistance, and relentless honesty. If this is landing with you right now, perhaps subscribe quietly and stay with this journey. The framework is simple. 3 words, 3 disciplines. Each one sounds ordinary. Together, they are the architecture of an extraordinary life. First, study. Not the kind of studying they taught you in school. Not memorizing facts for a test and forgetting them before sunrise. Real study is a daily act of war against ignorance. It is the man who stays up 30 extra minutes not scrolling but reading. Meditations, Atomic Habits, Letters from a Stoic, anything that builds a sharper mind. Consider the story of a young man in his early 20s who is working a dead-end job, feeling invisible and directionless. He started reading one book every 2 weeks. Not because someone told him to. Because he was desperate for a different internal world. Within 18 months, the way he spoke had changed. The way he carried himself had changed. His vocabulary, his decisions, his standards, all rebuilt from the inside through the slow accumulation of studied wisdom. What was he really changing, one page at a time? He was changing the voice inside his head. And the people who do not invest in that voice will spend their entire lives being directed by someone else's. Second, train. The body is not separate from the mind. The Stoics understood this. A disciplined body creates a disciplined mind. When you wake up before comfort allows, when you push through the last 3 repetitions that your body wants to quit on, you are not just building muscle, you are building proof. Proof that you can do hard things. Proof that discomfort does not own you. A man who trains consistently for 90 days without telling anyone on social media, without seeking external validation, undergoes a psychological shift that is almost impossible to explain to someone who has never experienced it. He begins to trust himself in a completely new way. And that trust, that quiet, earned self-respect, transfers into every other area of his life. Are you currently training, or are you merely planning to start? Third, silence. This is the one most people avoid. In a world built on noise, choosing silence feels almost rebellious. But silence is where clarity is born. The Stoics practice deliberate silence, not as emptiness, but as presence. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, when you stop seeking approval before every decision, something extraordinary happens. Your internal signal gets stronger. The people who master silence become the most powerful people in any room they enter. And most people around you will never understand this discipline. That is exactly what makes it rare. James Clear did not write Atomic Habits in a burst of inspiration. He built that book the same way the Stoics built character, through small, consistent, deliberate acts compounded over years. His central idea mirrors Stoic philosophy almost perfectly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your daily habits are not just routines. They are votes. Every single day, every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. What kind of person are you voting for right now? Ryan Holiday, who brought Stoicism back to the modern world through books like The Obstacle is the Way and Ego is the Enemy, built an entire life philosophy around one Stoic idea. The obstacle is not in the way, the obstacle is the way. Every difficulty, every silence, every moment of being overlooked or underestimated is material. It is the raw substance from which the stronger version of you is forged. If this philosophy is shifting something inside you, consider subscribing. This channel exists for exactly the kind of person who is reading between the lines right now. The modern application of Stoicism is not about wearing a toga or quoting Latin. It is about the man who puts his phone in another room when he studies. It is about the woman who trains when she does not feel like it, especially when she does not feel like it. It is about every person who chooses silence in a moment when reacting would feel satisfying but cost them something important. These are not grand gestures. They are invisible ones. And the invisible ones are always the most powerful. Could your daily invisible choices already be rewriting your future without you fully noticing? There comes a moment in this process, and you cannot predict when it will arrive, where you look in the mirror and do not fully recognize the person looking back. Not because something is wrong, because something is finally right. The softness that came from years of avoidance has quietly hardened into something steady. The noise that used to live in your chest has been replaced by a strange, unfamiliar calm. People around you begin to sense a change before you announce it. They cannot name it. They just feel it. The energy has shifted, and some of them will find it unsettling. Good. That discomfort in others is confirmation that something real is happening inside you. Here is what nobody prepares you for. The version of you that is emerging through study, through training, through chosen silence, will not look like the person you used to hope to become. It will be quieter than that, more grounded, less interested in performance, and far more committed to depth. The question that should sit with you right now is this: what are you willing to release in order to finally become the version of you that has been waiting in silence all along? This is not a motivational video. Motivation fades by tomorrow morning. This is a blueprint. Study every day like your mind depends on it, because it does. Train every day like your future self is watching, because that self is. And choose silence when the world wants noise, because that is where your real power lives. If this reached something in you today, subscribe quietly and return tomorrow. Drop a single word in the comments, the word that describes who you are becoming. One word, that is all. The ones who do not start today will wish they had. The transformation is already waiting.